Hi, welcome back to Coffee Spills and Pineapples. I'm Raffi, your host. If you're enjoying our podcasts, please subscribe, follow either on Spotify or YouTube. You can also share with friends. Today, I'm here with a most gorgeous person, Joy Bazzle from the USA, a teacher by trade.
Yes.
Hi, Joy. Thanks
Yes.
for coming.
Well, thank you for having me.
So you've been in Armenia for what, almost
I've been in Armenia for 1 year.
1 year, and you moved here from the States. You're a teacher, and you're still teaching now.
Yes.
So what we want to discover is what is the creative process of your classroom. But for that, let's grab our coffee and go to the studio.
Yes.
This is a podcast where I speak with creatives. And when we talk about creatives, we don't really think about teacher being creative, right? Like, so people are expecting a fashion designer, a singer, a dancer, I don't know, writer, an author, an actor. But you're a teacher and your creativity happens in the classroom.
Yes.
And there's even community news clippings in the States about you and how you've turned around a classroom. Tell me about that.
Well, I have a creative spirit. So creativity could be in my cooking. It could be in something I'm working on, my fashion sense, always something. I'm always thinking outside the box and my brain never stops. And so sometimes I had to look at it as a blessing and a curse. So, but when I look at a classroom, for me to be in a typical classroom with, just the cement walls or just plain, it makes me depressed.
Right.
I just can't do it. And so I'll go as far as flipping a classroom. Like some people flip a house, they'll buy an old house and then turn it to something amazing. And I do that with classrooms.
Joy, I understand you do this with your own money.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
And sometimes I ask for donations, and being an influencer, sometimes my subscribers will help me get things for the classroom, for the students. And I never ask for myself. I'm always asking for my students.
For how many years in the US as a teacher?
9 years.
9 years, and you've been a year here already.
Yes.
So is that what you did when you came to the classroom here in Armenia, or not the same turn?
Yes.
Turn. You did turn it around.
Yeah. Well, I had to be a little more creative in Armenia because I couldn't bring all of my things with me because it's too expensive.
Right.
Because in the States, I had bikes that had desktops, under desk ellipticals, yoga balls, chairs that would swerve. So I had all of these gadgets. So I'm like, well, how can I bring some of me to the classroom, some of that creativity? So I did pack a lot of wallpaper, removable wallpaper. I brought as much as I could to do the best I could with what I had to make the classroom look more inviting, even down to the lighting. I have LED lights around the room. I have sofa in the room. My walls, most of the walls in that classroom is fully covered. The windows were bare. So I'm like, how can I create like an awning, like goes over a window?
Yes,
I was like, okay. So I'm thinking, I was like, okay, I did see some cardboard. Okay. And then I covered the cardboard and I cut it out. So it's like a little hangover the window.
Yes.
So I can take anything and create something. You could put some gadgets on a table and I may create something.
Do you do that with the content that you teach as well, or is it just in the classroom is creative, or is it in the content as well?
No, the content too. So I may have a plan, a lesson plan. I'm going to work. I stay at work late the night before, working everything out. And I come into school, I'm like, no, I can do this instead. So I'm always changing things to that I know is going to inspire the students or be a little more fun or something like that. And so I'll change up something, and I'm working, really hard before the kids come to introduce them to something that's fun and exciting.
So what subjects do you teach?
I teach literature,
Literature.
poetry, and writing. So the last unit of the school year is drama, is a drama unit. So they learn about the different elements of drama, dialogue, and stuff like that. And so the children then have to write their own story with their group, and they have to perform it in front of the entire school and parents.
It's so awesome. This reminds me of when I was a Cubs leader, Boy Cubs, in Montreal, and we would organize summer camps, 10 days long. And we would have feasts and we would prepare, like you said, all kinds of cardboardy things and props and decorations. But even the content, we would have, let's say, game of planets. So each group was a planet and they would have to create their own creatures and the costumes that they would have to come back with information about that planet. So they teach each other about the solar system. I see how a classroom could become alive with you. Fashion. Obviously, I've seen, and you said you're an influencer, and I've seen your content, and the creativity in that content is amazing. And your content today starts with
Here, I've honed in on Armenia.
yeah,
And so I left the US and I moved to Armenia.
yeah, that's right. That's the one. That's the one that actually stopped me. I'm like, what? She moved to Armenia? So you moved to Armenia, a very monoethnic kind of society. We all look the same, sort of sound the same. And here is this tall, beautiful woman with the braids. And so how's that been? Like in good and or bad?
Well, it has been very interesting, and I'm learning to adapt because this is not my country. So I'm learning to embrace having an open mind and to accept people for who they are. It's since it's not much chocolate city around here. I was a little skeptical when I made the movie. I wasn't sure if I would experience racism, be shunned, or whatever, but it has totally been the total opposite.
Really
I've been
interesting.
fully embraced by most of the community with love, respect, hospitality. It's just been amazing. And I know that I do stand out, whether it's because I'm Black, my fashion, my extra
Your
long
fashion, for
braids, the
sure.
tattoos. So it could be a culmination of many things. And so people are curious. I know that they're curious because they don't see it very often. And I'm understanding to that. So sometimes I'll even let people hold my hair, touch my hair. I take photos. And so I'm just open to having them fulfill their
So
curiosity.
yeah, I was just going to say they are curious, and so they are trying to understand and discover because not many have the opportunity to travel to places where they can see otherness, something that is different. Of course, there's a lot of people who travel. Armenians are multilingual and they have access to different kinds of passports. So that gives them the opportunity to go to Europe. Many haven't, and many aren't able to. So that's great that you're open to it. And it also shows your open heartedness, like the way you approach the idea of connecting with people. And I think art and creativity does that, right?
Oh, yes.
It allows you to connect with people.
My favorite thing, though, is when I meet the older Armenians, the older women. They are so beautiful. They hug me and kiss me. And because I lost my mom when I was young, so it kind of feels like my mom is coming back through the
Wow.
connection with the older generation. And so it's just so sweet. And I
Very
just I
touching.
just eat it all up. And they just hug and kiss me and touch my hair and they'll be talking to me. I don't know what they're saying, but there is a connection where I understand.
I once saw content on your social where some people even invite you for coffee. Just come on in.
Yes.
And then you take that risk.
Yeah. Yeah, I go. So we took my students on a field trip to Lake Savon,
You're right.
and I met this lady with her granddaughter, and she had a house on Lake Savon. And so she was like, come for coffee, come, or I have a better view. And so there were other teachers that I was like, look, if I'm not back in 10 minutes, you know what? You better come get me. And I took the chance and I went to her house with another teacher, and it was beautiful. And
Right.
that was a year ago, and I'm still friends with her to this day.
Continuing on the fashion and image aspect of how we appear, I mean, I see that we share a love of tattoos. Any meaningful tattoos, or what is the process that you go through?
Well, mine is more aesthetic. The elephant that I have is comes from my mom, elephant, so good luck. And my mom will always give me elephant items, keychains, and I still have keychains she gave me over 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of passed that on to my children, but I also love art. And it looks like things that I would possibly draw because
Yeah.
I don't know if like professional doodler. People say it's more than doodling, but I call it doodling. And I also like the idea of the artwork as an opportunity for the viewer to see what they see through their eyes from their perspective. So everyone should see something different when they look at the tattoos.
What led you to become a teacher? How did you end up becoming a teacher?
I always wanted to teach, but coming from a background of educational abandonment, I never thought it was possible because I didn't think that I was smart enough or had the will to do it. I didn't have anyone to encourage me and to push me when I was younger. I had to do that for myself. And so when I became an adult, I felt like I wasn't making a difference in this world. And I was bored at a job. I was so bored. It was just terrible. And I decided to roll into a teaching certification program. Already had my degrees, and as I was bored at work, I decided to get my certification. It took me about a year, and that's what I did. And I feel every day that I'm making a difference, even if I don't touch all the kids. They'll never have this experience of being in class with Miss Bazzle. It's an experience being in my class.
It feels like it. I mean, in the back of my mind, I keep saying, I wish I had a teacher like that. So talk about your pineapples and your coffee spills that you want to share with us. But let's talk a little bit about the influencer Joy. When did you start to become or think of yourself as an influencer? Because some people, I mean, especially in today's world, they think about this as a career. I'm going to be an influencer and I'll start my content and this and this. Is that how it was for me, or was sort of real?
No, it grew. I've been doing YouTube for probably 9 years now. And I started when my kids were younger. It was a discussion that I had with them. So the channel was more based upon um my everyday life, the struggles and the good things of being a single parent and raising three kids on my own. So it went through the ups and downs of that, but there was always a lesson to be learned from my posts. And so I always wanted to encourage other people that if that's something that you want to do, you can do it. There's no giving up. It doesn't mean it's always going to be easy,
No, it's
but
not.
not giving up is the key. And so there was always some type of life lesson in my videos. And so my goal is to always be able to inspire others.
You do the videos. What's the channel? Is it just remain Joy Bazzle?
No, only in Basil's world.
Homes and Bazzles.
So my YouTube is where my longer content is. And so some of those subscribers have been with me forever. So they've seen my kids from young to now my kids being one of the top law schools in Texas and
Wow.
in
What
the
an
US.
achievement.
Mhm.
Success story, right? I just want to say that probably is the biggest pineapple that did come out break. So speaking of mobiles and technology and teacher, how's that affecting your students in terms of imagination, in terms of preparing their content, writing papers? I don't know. school children don't run necessarily write papers, but they have to come up with this literature that you're teaching them and understand it and then digest and analyze it, give it back. Can you? I just want to hear from you directly.
Well, I feel like it was like an epiphany. I was thinking one day, I was like, since most students, they are consumers, they don't really put out as much. They're just taking in the things that they see on TikTok, Instagram. They just consumers.
Right.
They're absorbing, doing that typical
Constantly,
scroll.
yeah, yeah.
And so I'm like, I have to teach them how to think. They forget a part of being able to produce creative things because they're such consumers. And I have to tell them sometimes that no, we're not going to use any computers. There's no computers. And then we'll find some kids tried to use AI to produce a lot of their work.
Mm.
And then I have to say, do it over. But I try to do a lot of oral. We can do oral assessments. We do Socratic seminars where they're discussing the topic. And then I see if they have mastery or fully understand what's going on.
And is there resistance? Are they, if it's fun, I'm assuming that they would participate, right? If it's something that is fun and engaging.
Mhm.
But do they get there quickly or
Um, they love the seminars and the debates and stuff. Sometimes when I tell them they have to do something over, there is a little resistance,
yeah.
but in the end, they come back and they thank me for that later. But in the process, I kind of hold firm. No, this is not a complete sentence. You have to write that over. You need to expand. So I hold them to a certain.
Accountable for that? Yeah.
Mhm.
So speaking of technology and the use of AI, so and just to put it out there, will AI replace teachers?
It could be a possibility. AI is pretty amazing, but I still think that human aspect is necessary too, because teaching is not only about the lesson. Well, for me, it's not about the lesson. I give life lessons as well.
Mm.
So it's like everything that instilled in my children, I try to instill into the kids at school.
Yeah, I feel that teachers also give emotional connection, emotional gratification, emotional etiquette, how to behave in certain, and I don't know if AI can do that.
It doesn't always happen. So, for example, I brought these things back from the US. They're tablets, and you can write on them, and you hit a button and it'll erase what you've written. And so I asked the students, I was like, do you know how to sign your name in cursive? He was like, oh no, they don't teach us that anymore. So I'm going around, is that on the lesson plan? No, it
No,
isn't. So it's humanizing, things that you do in a classroom. So I had them practicing. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna erase it. You try it now. And I do have one student, he's only in there for my homeroom, and he speaks no English. So he goes to intensive English class. And then I wrote his name in cursive, and then he was trying it. So it brings that human aspect that AI
will
won't
not,
give.
will not be able to.
Mhm.
Storytelling as a form of healing or healing of a trauma. So I work with, I'm on the board for a nonprofit, a US based nonprofit. I also registered here. So it's called Hakawati. And in Arabic, that's storytelling.
Mhm.
And recently, my partner in San Francisco held the opening premiere of the performance, the play that she'd written, where I supported in producing it. I had to travel to the States, and that was in April.
Mhm.
And I was a bit fearful because I was born in Jordan, and although my passport is Canadian, there were some comedians being held at the border, and it just the climate didn't feel right. So I wasn't able to go to this premiere, and I had to. So all this that's going on in the U.S., how's that affecting you, your mindset, your children, the people in your community?
I think what's going on now is it's terrible. It's almost, with lack of a better term, it's almost like a genocide of a history. They're trying to wash it away. So they're saying that Black history didn't happen. Um, that America should only be predominantly run by
Christian, white privilege.
um sad because you can't turn back history. So what they're doing, they're trying to erase it.
Yeah.
And it is more worrisome for me because my children are still there. So I wonder about the quality of their life that they have living there. And they're a little scared. I thought my daughter, who's in law school, I thought her, financial aid would have been taken away because they reversed certain laws and certain
Right,
things
right.
in affirmative action
Yeah.
for a lot of African American students. So things that were put in place to protect Black people have now been taken away. So their chances of getting ahead, just just to try to even the level plane of Blacks and white, that is close to impossible.
So rewriting history is not new for us Armenians. I mean, Turkey's been rewriting a lot of the history itself. Recently with the Azerbaijan invasion of Artsakh and rewriting the Christian history of Artsakh or the Nagorno-Karabakh region by transforming the history of a church, just something simple enough, from Armenian to Christian Albanians. It's like pages out of the fascist, yes, playbill. This book itself is being replicated in different parts of Europe. Okay, besides the protests, which I would say I didn't see, is there any other kinds of, are people waiting for election time to hopefully re-elect somebody different?
Um, on the whole, I think that's what they're waiting for. It's like there are no consequences for things that are being done. So how do we enforce certain things? A lot of ways that I feel though many of the Americans do fight back is with choosing not to buy from certain.
Boycotting
Yes,
products.
yes, and that has been effective. But you still need that collective community
Yeah.
to come
The
together.
critical mass that
Oh,
makes
yeah.
the difference and the impact.
And especially when you're playing with somebody's money,
Right.
then becomes serious.
Right.
And that has been very successful.
So the economy itself in the States is suffering. I mean, I saw recently statistics about tourism, the lack thereof. I mean, New York has suffered immensely, but there's this like hope. This Mamdani is making things different and better and more inclusive. Let's see how that turns out.
I don't understand a person's psyche and how they can support certain negative things that isn't beneficial to a to a country. I just don't understand the mindset of someone that can agree with someone who's behaving like a dictator.
Right. And I think from being from Canada and being sort of attacked
Yes.
by, longtime neighbor and ally.
Right.
So it just feels weird, right? Joy, you recently moved to Armenia, you said a year ago.
Yes.
Moved to Armenia to teach, after X amount of years, being comfortable in a place, just to leave requires a mindset. So how did that happen? How did you just one day decide, okay, I'm gonna take this chance and do it?
Yes. That is the most popular question that I get all the time. How could you just pick up and go? And once my children all left for universities, I was left alone since I'm the last surviving member of my family.
Yes.
And so I'm just alone. I'm like, okay, so now this is a new part of life. I have an empty nest now. So what am I going to do with myself? What is the next goal? What is it that I want? So I wanted to travel. I've always wanted to travel because I grew up in Brooklyn and just stayed on a block. never had vacations. And then unfortunately, it was the same once I had children because it was always survival.
Right.
And so I've always wanted to travel, even if it was in the United States. So I transitioned to van life. Van life is when live in, typically, a lot of people live in an SUV.
Mhm.
I mean, live in a, a trailer type
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So I didn't have a trailer and I didn't want to make the investment until I figured I would like it. And so I decided to gut out an SUV. I emptied out the SUV and built it out a little bit to be a home.
So you had your bed, your little
Yes.
corner for reading.
Yes, so it was a bed, I had a refrigerator, I had a massive battery that could run the entire car, I had a bathroom, and I just got an expensive membership at my gym. And it was also to save a little money to help my 2 kids that were in college. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And I put all of my life belongings in storage and lived in my car for a year.
Wow.
Even through the
fascinating. This is
winter,
fascinating.
through the summer and the summertime, living in Texas, there's no way you can live or stay in a car for a long period of time because it's just too hot. So I'm like, okay, I can't sleep late. And then I would go to the gym every day to shower. The gym was great. It provided towels, everything you need. The gym had it.
Yeah.
And so it didn't give me the experience that I thought it would because I couldn't travel because I still worked as an educator. I still had to go to the job every day.
Right.
So I'm like, by the time I drive somewhere, I got to come right back.
Right.
So it didn't give me that experience that I was looking for, but I'm glad I tried it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always going to try something and give it a chance. And so I've always still wanted to travel. And when an opportunity arose for me to teach abroad, I was like, why not? My kids, even when they're home, they go out with their friends. So I was like, why not do me? Live my life because there's still things that I want to do before I can no
Sure.
longer do them.
Sure. I mean, we always say, oh, we're too young and we're too old. I don't think there is such a thing because I mean, I know some people who up and left it. They're in their 70s. They just said, okay, we're going to change.
Yes. Yes. And change is good.
It is definitely.
So my kids, I talked to my children about it. They were okay with it. My youngest daughter struggles a little bit, and I talk to them all the time. I'm always there for major life events, graduations, birthdays, holidays. I'm always traveling. We always see each other.
Right.
So you're at school. I'm by myself. Why should I stay here hoping you decide to come home for a holiday?
Mhm.
Because I still want them to live their lives
Sure.
too. And so the opportunity arose for me to teach abroad. I went through an extensive background verification process and interview process. I think I interviewed with several people for over a month, especially because of the time differences.
Oh, right.
And I just talked to my kids and I packed my stuff and took a chance on experiencing something new.
Well, kudos to your courage
Mhm.
and your bravery to actually just up and leave. A lot of parents, I mean, I'm a father of 4. A lot of parents that I know, even in my immediate vicinity, they always plan everything around their kids, even after a certain age,
Mhm.
where they're independent and they can, like you said, do their own thing,
Mhm.
maybe not even be involved most of the time. So this is actually very inspiring to a lot of, I would say, single young women that they can do it. Yeah, yeah, it's fantastic. Many of my guests share a story, an anecdote, something in their life that could be or is defined as a coffee spill. Things didn't go the way you wanted, or you tried something and I'm not sure, but I want to use the word failure because it just sounds so definitive. Failure. But everything that you fail leads to something else. So coffee sprays. Is there a coffee spray you want to share with us?
Sure, I've shared this with thousands of children. And so growing up, I grew up in a household surrounded by crime, drugs, educational abandonment. And that's what I saw. I was the youngest in the family.
Mm,
From my father, my brother, my sister were all addicted to drugs. And what I gravitated to, so the foundation was set for me to fail.
right.
So I was, that's what I knew. And I looked at all of them as who I did not want to be. So they were my role models to do the opposite. And so I refuse to allow my background and how I grew up to define who I am, although it does, because it has made me stronger. So it's about taking a negative situation and not blaming your own personal accomplishments on or lack of on your parents or your background. No, you still have a choice. And I chose to read. So reading is what saved my life. So I was reading at 8, 9, 10 because it was my escape. So I was able to escape my environment through the creativity of words on paper. And I always wanted someone to climb up the fire escape because I lived on the fourth floor and just whisk me away because I would read Harlequin romance books. And I just wanted someone to take me away from this life. And so I've taken that opportunity to look at what I didn't want to fight for.
Such a great ending to this conversation. Again, just very inspiring. I'm very grateful to have had this conversation today with you. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having me. You're easy.
And I'm looking forward to seeing more amazing content on our socials. I'll go and check out your YouTube too. Thank you for being with us. I hope this inspired you as much as it did me. Follow us on YouTube and Spotify. Subscribe, share, and see you next time.